Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, Paul here, and in today's video we're going to be profiling the Dark Magician. One of my personal favorite legacy decks. I'm really glad that it finally got support, and I like to just revamp this deck pretty much every year. I play with it inside events, I play with it for fun duels, I did one actually a couple of weeks ago. So this is my updated Dark Magician deck, and there are some new tricks, so it's not just the same old thing. I like Dark Magician. I find it to be a pretty competitive rogue strategy if you're not careful, and so without further ado, I'm going to hop in. First things first, we have three of the man of the hour himself, Dark Magician in the Arcana Force art, one of my favorites. So I run 3 copies of this. This isn't one of those decks where you can necessarily cut down on him. He's actually really important. You will be searching him, you will be summoning him from your hand, you will be summoning him from the grave, you will be overlaying, you will be bringing it back. So yeah, you definitely need to have 3 copies of this. Good stats and all that stuff. Also, 3 Magician's Rod. Another staple of a Dark Magician deck. So, when it's normal summon, you get to search a spell or trap card that contains Dark Magician in its card text from your deck to your hand. This is extremely helpful. This is the normal summon that you want to be making on your first turn all the time. It also has an effect in the graveyard. If you use a spell or trap card effect, you contribute a spellcaster and then add this card back to your hand, which you can then normal summon next turn and get more searches. So, very important. You should always be running 3 copies of this. Next, we have 2 Apprentice Illusion Magician. So this is a card that I used to love running at 3 because I was like, oh, like just search and it's some theme and it's cool and she's cute. But I'm actually cutting down to 2 on this because I find that you really only need to resolve it maybe once in a game, twice occasionally. Its effect is you can, if it's in your hand, you can discard a card and special summon her from the hand. When she's special summoned, she adds a Dark Magician from your deck to your hand. So it's a great way to turn on cards like Magician's Navigation, cards like Eternal Soul, and also if she's in the hand or in the field, you can send her to the grave when a dark spellcaster battles and give it 2,000 more attack. So that's very handy. It's kind of like Honest or Collude in that way. But like I said, I mean, she's only useful in those applications. Other than that, she can kind of like sit in your hand, she can clog, so that's why I cut her down to 2. And then finally, of the Dark Magician cards, we've got 2 Magician of Dark Illusion, the Retrain. He has the opposite stats of Dark Magician, but yeah, so he's important for 2 different reasons. First of all, when he's in your hand and you use a spell or trap effect in your opponent's turn, you can special summon it from your hand. So you'll want to do this because you've got plenty of spell and trap effects that you can actually activate in both players' turns, so you want to get him out to the field as fast as possible. And when he's on the field, he has another effect. If you use a spell or trap effect, you get to special summon Dark Magician from your graveyard. Also, his name is treated as Dark Magician in the field, so whenever he gets special summoned, that will trigger cards like Dark Magic Circle. That's very huge. It also means that cards like Magician's Navigation are live, Eye of Timaeus. So he's very handy, but you don't run 3 because, like her, he can clog a bit. So, lastly, we've got some extra monsters. Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. This is a way to search the Spellbook engine, which I'm running. Your whole deck is Spellcaster, so it makes sense. He works pretty well because this deck only has Magician's Rod as its normal summon. So if you're not summoning Magician's Rod, you just aren't going to be normal summoning it. So you can summon him, grab secrets, use secrets, grab knowledge, use knowledge on him, and draw 2 cards. Thins your deck a lot. It's a plus. It's really nice. And finally, I've got 2 Effect Veilers. Now, you could run other hand traps. Ash Blossom's obviously the more optimal way to do this most of the time, or even just Duel and Lockbird. But I find Effect Veiler to be fun because it's on theme, it's a spellcaster monster, which means that you can in fact use it with the spellbook cards, you can use it with illusion magic, and if you decide to run synchros in this deck, which I'm not because I couldn't fit in my extra deck, but if you decide to run synchros, then it can also be used as a reliable tuner because 1 in 7 makes 8, and that's like loads of good synchro monsters. So that's it for the monsters. I believe it's 13. Next we've got Dark Magical Circle. So this is kind of the centerpiece spell of the deck. When it's activated, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you have a Dark Magician or a spell or trap that mentions Dark Magician, among those cards, you can show it to your opponent, add it to your hand, and then you get to pick the order that the cards go back on top of your deck. So if you're about to use like a spellbook draw card, you'll know what you're going to draw, and that can be kind of handy. But you want this to stay on the field because anytime you summon a Dark Magician to the field, once per turn, you get to banish one of your opponent's cards. And this is huge, and in my opinion, one of the reasons this deck can still sort of compete at like kind of a rogue level is because this offers Dark Magicians some great removal power. If there are ever threats on the board, you can usually get rid of them. It does target, so that can be a bit annoying. But if you use this strategically by using like Magician's Navigation and Eternal Soul in your opponent's turn, you can actually make it basically disrupt opponent's plays. And banishing hurts, so pretty good. Next, we've got Illusion Magic. You tribute a spellcaster and search 2 Dark Magicians from your deck or your graveyard to your hand. So this is a great way to get Dark Magician and get your play started, or recycle Dark Magician. I love using this card with Magician's Rod because you just normal summon it and then you tribute it off for this and you get 2 Dark Magicians. So if the card you searched was like Circle or Eternal Soul, then you already have the whole play sort of loop set up. Dark Magic Inheritance, you banish 2 spells and you get a Dark Magician spell or trap from your deck to your hand. It's just a little bit of extra consistency, another way to see generally Dark Magical Circle faster. But you can get any of the spells or traps you need. And Dark Magic Attack, the namesake card. Look at him. Boom. When you have Dark Magician in the field, you can activate this and destroy all your opponent's spells and traps. Its usefulness will depend, of course, on the matchup. Some decks don't really play a lot of back row, but there are plenty that do. So if you resolve this, it feels really good, and you can actually search it with Eternal Soul, so that's cool too. Then we've got the one-of tech of the Eye of Timaeus. Now, what's important to keep in mind about this card, and what really sucks, is that it's actually not searchable with cards like Rod and Dark Magic Circle, because it's a Dark Magician card, not actually Dark Magician, so it blows, but that's how it works. It's a cool tech though, because it allows you to summon the Dark Magician Dragon Knight, which I'm running a copy of in my extra deck. It can protect your spells and traps. I'll get to him a bit later, but I still find this to be a worthwhile one-of tech. It's not something that you really can rely on seeing because it's unsearchable, and I wouldn't really run more because it can be dead if you don't actually have Dark Magician on the field, but still really fun. Nice on-theme card. Then we have the Spellbook Engine, 2 Spellbook of Secrets, 2 Spellbook of Knowledge. Like I said with Blue Boy, it can search these cards, but even if you don't have Blue Boy, you can actually just use these on any of your spellcasters because all of your monsters are, and this is great draw power for the deck. It's a lot better, I think, than cards like Allure of Darkness. And then we have 1 Pot of Desires. I use this mostly because I just want to see Dark Magician cards sooner, and I found this to be a little bit better than Upstart Goblin. Unless you end up banishing all 3 copies of Dark Magician, which has happened to me in the past, but doesn't happen much, then this is generally fine. You don't mind banishing 1 copy of most stuff in your deck, so not too bad. You could run other variations of draw power though. Allure of Darkness is an option, Upstart's an option. Even Pot of Duality isn't so bad because you can do a lot of your special summoning in your opponent's turn, so those cards can work. Next we've got Scapegoat. I'm running 2 copies of it. This is just a 1 card, any link monster basically. This deck sometimes can struggle when it doesn't see Dark Magician, so this lets you at least put boss monsters or removal on the board, and that's nice. We've got Monster Reborn to bring back Dark Magician. Sometimes you'll get to trigger Circle. Soul Charge can do the same thing. You can bring back like 2 Dark Magicians and overlay into your Xyz monsters, or maybe make some Link monsters. And that is it for the spell cards. I believe it's 16 spells, but correct me if I'm wrong. And finally, for the traps, we have 3 copies of Eternal Soul. This is the best and worst card in the deck. So once per turn, you can use its effect and search either a Dark Magic Attack or 1,000 Knives, which I don't run. But the more important effect is you can special summon a Dark Magician from your hand or your graveyard. And as long as it's on the field alongside your Dark Magical Circle, you can basically just summon Dark Magicians like over and over and over. Because when you get one, you can run it into an opponent's monster and then resummon it and banish that monster. Or you can overlay with it to an Xyz monster and then resummon it and like keep triggering this each turn. It's great. But the downside is when this card does leave the field, it destroys all your monsters. So it's very prone to MST, Twin Twisters, the works. So you don't want this to die. You have to be a little bit careful with it. Next, we've got Triple Magician's Navigation. This is another handy card. It special summons a Dark Magician from your hand and then 1 Dark Spellcaster from your deck. That can be another Dark Magician. That can be a Magician of Dark Illusion. It can be an Apprentice. It can be, even a Rod if you need it. So yeah, this is very handy. It can kind of turn your hand into a playable thing. And when this is in the graveyard, you can actually, if you control Dark Magician, banish it and negate one of your opponent's spell or trap effects. So that's great if you need protection from Twin Twisters because they're about to kill this. They might forget that you've got this in the grave. You can banish it. And it's really, really helpful. So keep it in mind. It's actually saved me a lot of pinches. Then we've got some Solemn cards. I have Solemn Judgment, Solemn Warning, Solemn Strikes. As for traps, this deck can really get away with any selection of traps you want. I used to do Mirror Forces. Now I'm doing Solemns. I just find them to be very powerful, especially Solemn Strike these days. It can stop hand traps, and that's helpful. But any traps you want to run, if you're taking this to a tournament, I would maybe not run these because the life point cost is heavy, or like side them out in a later game. But as a rogue option, these work pretty fine. And then the one-of tech that I thought would be a lot of fun is Full Force Virus. because it lets you tribute Dark Magician and then get rid of a lot of your opponent's monsters. Because loads of things have like over 1500 defense, so it's not, or under 1500 defense, right? Under 1500 defense. Yeah, under 1500 defense. It's a little bit more balanced than like the old Crushed card was, but you can get rid of, you know, most small combo starters and decks like Gokis and all that. So it's a fun card. It's, you know, it could be dead sometimes. If you really don't like having fun, then you can just run something a little bit more solid in its place. Run evenly matched, I don't know. But yeah, so 1 copy of Full Forest. You could run other viruses too. And that's it for the traps. It should be 11. Now for the extra deck. So we've got Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. It actually protects your spell and trap cards, so it's very handy. You summon it with the Eye of Timaeus. I don't actually expect it to hit the board all that often, so, you know, if it does, it's cool. Ebon High Magician and Ebon Illusion Magician, these are the 2 Dark Magician Xyz. He lets you actually use quick play spells and traps from your hand in your opponent's turn, but he doesn't come up much. The more important one is Ebon Illusion Magician, which can summon a Dark Magician from your deck, very handy, and then when your Dark Magicians attack, you get to banish a card from your opponent's field. So this can trigger Dark Magical Circle, and you can attack and banish something else, and then deal more damage. So these are a lot of fun. I've also got Big Eye for stealing monsters. Surprisingly, it's a Dark Spellcaster, so you can even give it a boost with Apprentice. We've got Narito. If you somehow get 2 Apprentices on the field, you can actually make it and it can negate spells and traps. And Galaxy Tomahawk, the token spammer of the month. It can make loads of tokens and spam out Link monsters. So let's get into those. We've got Link Karibo. We've got 2 Link Spiders, because you know there are loads of tokens here. Qliphort Genius, because you need it when you use Galaxy Tomahawk for the monsters or machines. Nightmare Cerberus, it's monster removal. Summon Sorceress, a new addition to the deck that I've been trying out. She's fun because she's a dark spellcaster. Like Big Eye, she can get those boosts. And it's easy to summon a Dark Magician from your deck, actually, with her effect, and then get a Dark Magical Circle banished. So, kind of cool. Doesn't come up much, but when it does, it's fun. Nightmare Unicorn, another form of removal. Saryu's Skull Dread to filter out your hand, and Borlo Dragon to out monsters. So, that is it for the deck profile. It's Dark Magicians in 2018. I find this deck to be a lot of fun. Like I said at the beginning, I always kind of just find myself coming back to this deck for whatever reason. It's very enjoyable, it's pretty consistent, and it's actually better than people think. So, let me know what you guys think. Give me some feedback in the comments. I know a lot of people have different ways of running Dark Magicians, loads of different engines, and stuff like that. So we can discuss it all in the comments. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Hit the bell so you'll be notified of all the new vids. And that's going to be it. So I will see you guys in the next one.